Okay. Today I'm going to start with chapter 1 quiz and practice questions for tax examination, UK tax examination for June 2025 to March 2026 attempt. So let's start. Which of the following are both direct revenue taxes? That is, it is a direct tax and it is also a revenue tax. So when I talk about A, income tax and inheritance tax. So can I say income tax is of revenue in nature? And when I talk about inheritance tax, income tax is kind of direct and revenue both. Okay. And when I talk about inheritance tax, it is direct, but it is not revenue. Can I say it is capital? Hence, option A is ruled out. Option A is ruled out. Okay, now let's say option B. Option B says corporation tax and capital gains tax. When I talk about corporation tax, it is direct. But can I say it is both revenue and capital? Because even capital gains are taxed in your corporation tax, and even profits of the company are taxed in your corporation tax. So option B is automatically ruled out, and capital gains is the name as the name says, it's capital in nature. So option B is also ruled out. So I will rule out option B. Okay, when I talk about option C says income tax. Can I say income tax is direct and income tax is also revenue in nature? And when I talk about national insurance contribution, it is also direct and it is also revenue in nature. So your correct answer is C. Okay, why not D? So D says corporation tax. Again, corporation tax is both, that is revenue and capital. And when I talk about value added tax, it is indirect and it is also, can I say, it is neither revenue nor capital, because it is tax which is not on your income, it is on expenses. Hence it is neither revenue nor capital. Hence even option D is ruled out. So correct answer is option C. Okay, question number 2. Cameron has been resident in the UK in the previous 3 tax years. Okay, for the tax year 24-25 he has two ties in the UK. So we it's already given that we need to go for a sufficient ties test. That is stage 3 of your statutory resident tests. What is the maximum number of days which Cameron could spend in the UK during the tax year 24-25, which he hoped to be treated as not a UK resident? So if Cameron doesn't want to be UK resident, what is the maximum number of days he can spend if he has two ties in the UK? That's what question is asking. So for that, we need to go to the tax sheet. Okay. So if I look into the tax sheet, so in the tax sheet, if I check into residence status table, now it says it has two ties and previous 3 tax years has been resident for previous 3 tax years. Okay. So if he has been resident for previous 3 tax years and has two ties, so can I say I will check this column? Okay, previously resident column. So if that individual is previously resident and that individual is having two ties, so if he spends at least 91 days, then that individual, or I would say Cameron, would become resident because Cameron is having two ties. However, if Cameron spends up to 90 days, Cameron would not be considered as resident because 3 ties are required and Cameron is only having two ties. So can I say this is the uh, perfect criteria, right? I mean, say, I would say this is the perfect criteria, but what is the maximum days that Cameron can spend? That is 90 days. Because if you spend 90 days, you need to have 3 ties to be resident. And if you spend 91 days, you need to have 2 ties to be resident. So my correct answer would be, can I say, uh, 90 days? That is the maximum days that can be spent. So that is option D, right? D. Confirm. Okay, let's move to question number 3. Which of the following companies are resident in the UK? Now, as we know, for residential status of UK companies, it is quite simple. In case of companies, there can be two scenarios. The company is incorporated in UK, incorporated in UK. If it is incorporated in UK, it becomes a UK resident. Okay. And if it is not incorporated in UK, then in that case, we need to check for management and control. If management and control is in UK, then it is resident, otherwise not resident. Okay. So one company A is incorporated in UK. It is incorporated in UK, so does not matter where the management and control is. I would simply take it as resident, right? So company A is UK resident. Company A is UK resident. Okay. Second one states company B is not incorporated in the UK. Okay. So if the company is not incorporated in the UK, I would check where the management and control is. But its central management and control is in the UK. So can I say management and control is in the UK? So the company B is also UK resident. So it is UK resident. Okay. When I talk about company C is incorporated in the UK. So if it is incorporated in UK, it does not matter where the central management and control is. So even company C becomes UK resident. So it is, can I say A, that is one, two, three. All three companies are UK resident. A, confirm. Okay. Question 4. Which of the following is not a responsibility of a professional advisor when a client refuses to authorize disclosure of an irregularity in their tax affairs? A. Advise the client they are no longer acting for them. B. Notify HMRC of why they have ceased to act for the client. So A is something, can I say correct? This is my responsibility. If I'm not acting on behalf of the client, I need to tell my client that I won't be acting for you anymore. So A is ruled out because I need to say which is not a responsibility. So A is my responsibility. B, notify HMRC of why they have ceased to act for the client. See, notifying HMRC that I have ceased for the client is my responsibility. But when I talk about why, I don't need to provide reason to HMRC. Okay, since you can say confidentiality issue, right? So I cannot disclose the reason. I need to state to HMRC that I won't be acting for you anymore, but I cannot say the reason why I won't be acting. So can I say B is something which is not my responsibility? So correct answer is option B. Why not C? What is C? C, consider whether any report is required under the money laundering regulations. Yes, this is definitely my responsibility. I need to check if any reporting is to be done. And D says respond in a professionally appropriate manner to any professional clearance letter. So yes, of course, even this is my responsibility as a professional, right? So C and D are ruled out, and correct answer stands to be option B. Okay. Which of the following statement is correct? Tax avoidance is illegal and tax evasion can be legal. Okay. So when I talk about tax avoidance is, can I say, legal? Tax avoidance is kind of tax planning. Okay. So if you do it from the tax planning point of view, it is legal. Okay. If you overdo it, then there may be a debate over it. But if you are doing aggressively, then there may be a debate over it. But if you are doing from the tax planning point of view, then tax avoidance is something which is legal. When I talk about tax evasion, so you are, even in this case, you are trying to save your tax, but by illegal means, either forging documents or maybe not disclosing any information. Okay, so tax evasion is something illegal. Okay, so what does the statement says? Tax avoidance is illegal. No, tax avoidance is legal. So statement A is incorrect. Okay, so I will rule out A. Okay, what does B says? Tax avoidance can be legal and tax evasion is illegal. Yeah, this sounds something correct. Tax avoidance can be legal if you do it from the tax planning point of view. Okay, if you do it aggressively, then it may not be legal. So tax avoidance can be legal and tax evasion is illegal, which is perfectly right. That is option B is correct. Okay, so that's it about your quizzes. Now let's move on to practice questions for chapter 1. Okay, chapter 1. Yes. Let's start some practice. Which of the following UK taxes is an indirect tax? Okay, so can I say VAT is the correct answer? Because all other taxes for your exams are all direct. Only VAT is something indirect. Okay, so it is option D. Yes, it is correct. Okay, let's move on. Question number 2. Which of the following is not statutory legislation? Inheritance Tax Act 1984, HMRC Statement of Practice 1 2020, Social Security Contributions and Benefits Act 1992, and Capital Allowances Act 1994. Okay, when I talk about statutory legislation, it means the law, it means the statute. Okay, so when I talk about option A, C, and D, all these are acts. Okay, these are kind of statutory legislation. Okay, but when I talk about HMRC statement of practice, it is not kind of a statutory legislation, it's just a guidance. Okay, and guidance is not law. So option B is your correct answer. Option B is your correct answer. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, third, Topaz is a sole trader. Okay, identify by clicking on the relevant boxes below whether each of the following actions by Topaz would be tax evasion. Okay, failing to record cash sales. If you fail to record cash sales, can I say this is an error? Okay. So this will definitely become an example of tax evasion, right? Because you have made a mistake in this. Um, Second, claiming personal expenses through business. This is definitely tax evasion. This is something which is not allowed, right? You can only claim business expenses. How can you claim personal expenses? Third, deliberately understate. Oh, sorry. Uh, Tax evasion. Yes, yes. Both of them are tax evasion. My bad. Okay. Third, deliberately understating the value of closing inventory. Again, it is a example of tax evasion. Fourth, postponing a sale of shares from 5th April until 6th April. So you are kind of selling your shares instead of in, let's say, for example, tax year 23-24, you are selling it in 24-25, so that you can make use of your annual exempt amount of tax year 24-25 also. So can I say this is very much legal, and this is kind of a tax planning. As a tax advisor in your tax examination, you are supposed to provide such kind of advices, right? So option D, or I would say fourth one, is definitely not a, you can say, tax evasion. It is a kind of a tax planning move, and rest of the three are definitely tax evasion. Okay, moving ahead. Having graduated from a university in the UK, Patrick is now working full time overseas. Okay. He now wishes to be non resident in the UK but expects to make return trips to the UK to visit friends. Very good. What is maximum number of days Patrick can spend in the UK and be not resident also? Okay. So Patrick is now working full time overseas. He now wishes to be non-resident in the UK but expects to make return trips to the UK to visit friends. What is the maximum number of days Patrick can spend in the UK and be non-resident? So when I talk about stage 1, automatic overseas, or I would say non-resident test, whatever, right? Overseas test. So test 1 says ki if an individual stays for less than 16 days, he may not be resident. Okay. If an individual stays for less than 46 days plus has not been resident, not a resident in previous three, in any one out of three previous tax year, right? Any one out of three previous three tax years, right? Uh, in this case also it is resident in any one out of three previous tax years. In this case, it is not a resident. And third condition is, or I would say third test is, can I say less than 91 days plus works full time overseas, works full time overseas. So can I say in current situation, if Patrick has graduated from UK university, so definitely he has been resident in the UK, right? So this condition may not be satisfied. But can I say he is working full time overseas? So what is the maximum number of days? Of course, he can spend 15 days. Okay, if he spends 15 days, he will definitely be a not resident. But what we the question asks, what is the maximum number? So can I say here my maximum number would be 90 days, because less than 91 is 90. Okay, you don't need to give your answers in points. Okay, so as far as your exams are concerned, it will be in whole number. Okay, so can I say Patrick can spend maximum of 90 days and work full time overseas and still be considered as automatically not a UK resident, or I would say automatically overseas resident, right? So the correct answer will be, can I say option C? Okay. Moving on to fifth question, which of the following people would be treated as automatically non-resident in the UK for the tax year 24-25? A. Anna, who stayed in the UK for 15 days during the tax year 24-25. Can I say this is the first condition? This is first condition. So A, I would say stage one, test number one, right? Less than 16 days. Okay, so can I say Anna definitely becomes a non-UK resident? B, test B states Barbara, who was not previously UK resident and stayed in UK for 50 days during the tax year. If you have not been a previously UK resident, then in that case, the condition is that you should spend less than 46 days plus a non-UK resident, right? Not UK resident in any one out of three previous tax years. So 50 days is, can I say, more than this condition? So B is definitely not an option. So I will rule this out. Okay. Option C says Carol, who was UK resident for the tax year 22-23 and stayed in the UK for 40 days during the tax year 24-25. So can I say first condition, stage one's first test is, can I say, not satisfied because it is less than 60 days. This is 40 days. And in second condition, it should be less than 46 days plus not a UK resident. Here, Carol is a UK resident, stayed in UK. Sorry, uh, has been UK resident for 22-23, right? So can I say even option C is ruled out? D. Danita, who stayed in the UK for 70 days during the tax year 24-25 and who has left the UK to carry out part-time work overseas. Ah, now this is something good. Mm, okay. Danita, who stayed in the UK for 70 days during the tax year 24-25 and who has left the UK to carry out part-time work overseas. So can I say in case of D, it should have been less than how many days? 91 days. So can I say 91 days criteria is satisfied plus full-time work overseas, and Danita is working part-time, where it is. Yeah, Danita is working part-time. So can I say even criteria D is not satisfied, right? So I would say even Danita is not a UK resident. So even option D is ruled out. So correct option is option A. Now many will say, sir, in less than 16 days, one more condition is that he should have been UK resident for in any of the previous three tax years. But this is not something mandatory. Okay. So your option A is correct. See what it says. Regardless of whether or not Anna was previously resident, she will be non-resident as she spent less than 16 days. Okay, moving ahead. 6. Which of the following statements correctly explains the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance? Okay. So tax evasion is, can I say, something illegal, and tax avoidance can be legal, right? If it is done from the tax planning point of view, it can be legal, and tax evasion is definitely illegal. Okay. So what all we have, both tax evasion and tax avoidance are illegal. Option A is ruled out. Option B, tax evasion is illegal, whereas tax avoidance involves the minimization of tax liability by use of any lawful means. Okay. So can I say this is something more relevant? Okay. When I talk about option C, both tax evasion and avoidance are illegal. C is ruled out. Tax avoidance is illegal, whereas tax evasion is so they have wrote kind of opposite kind of thing, right? So D is definitely incorrect. So correct answer will be B. Okay. Moving ahead. Question 7 says Samuel is planning to leave the UK to live overseas. Having always previously been resident in the UK, he will not automatically be treated as either resident in the UK or not resident in the UK. Samuel has several ties with the UK and will need to visit the UK for 60 days each tax year. However, he wants to be not resident after he leaves the UK. For the first two tax years after leaving the UK, what is the maximum number of ties which Samuel could keep with the UK without being treated as resident in the UK? Okay. So in this case, mm, Samuel is planning to leave the UK leave the UK to live overseas. So he has been obviously previously resident in the UK. Now he will not be treated as either resident in the UK or not resident. So we have given that Samuel has failed stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, stage 2. So now I will go directly for stage 3. Samuel has several ties with the UK and will need to visit the UK for 60 days each tax years. However, he wants to be not a resident after he leaves the UK. So for the first two tax years after leaving the UK, what is the maximum number of ties which Samuel could keep with UK without being treated as a resident? So can I say in this case, I need to check that residence table, and in that need to check previously resident column, right? Residence in previous any of the three tax years, because for first 2 years Samuel would be a resident of UK in any one of the previous three tax years, right? So I need to check that if this person spends 60 days, what is the maximum ties he can keep to be a resident. So let's check the column. Mm, sorry. Okay, so let me clear this. Okay, now in this, can I say he has been previously resident, Samuel? So, and he wants to stay for 60 days. So if Samuel wants to stay for 60 days, can I say it will be from 46 to 90? 60 days falls in this, can I say, row? So Samuel would be considered as resident if Samuel has three UK ties or more. So if Samuel is having two UK ties, he would not be considered as resident. So what is the maximum number of ties he can have? That is two, right? So if I go to question, the correct answer will be C, that is two. C, confirm. Okay, moving ahead. Question 8. Identify by clicking on relevant boxes below whether each of the following companies will be treated as resident in the UK for corporation tax purposes. A Limited, a company incorporated in the UK with its central management and control exercised in the UK. Okay. And B Limited, a company incorporated overseas with its central management. So for UK's this thing, it is simple. Can I say if a company is incorporated in UK, then it is a UK resident. If not incorporated in UK, then I need to check management and control. Okay, if management and control in UK, then it will be a UKR, UK resident. Okay. So in first one, A Limited, a company incorporated in the UK with its central management and control exercised in the UK. So it is incorporated in the UK. Okay. So can I say it will be resident? B Limited, a company incorporated overseas. Okay, so it is not incorporated in the UK, so I need to check management and control. Its central management and control is exercised in the UK itself. So can I say it will become resident? Okay. Third company, C Limited, a company incorporated in the UK. It is incorporated in the UK. It will be automatic. It will be a resident, right? I don't need to check the central management and control. And option D, a company incorporated overseas with its central management and control is also overseas. So not incorporated in UK, and management and control is also in is not in UK. So can I say in this case it will not be a resident? Okay. Question 9. Taxes can either be capital taxes or revenue taxes, although some taxes are neither type of taxes. So select correct classification. When I talk about VAT, it is neither your revenue or capital because VAT is something on your expenses, right? When I talk about national insurance contribution, it is a capital because you don't gift or you don't die every day, right? This is a kind of a capital event, right? Uh, Transaction in itself is capital. Sorry, national insurance contribution is revenue. My bad. Inheritance tax is something, can I say capital, because you don't gift or die every day, right? So this will become capital.